Hi everyone. How are you? Oh, my dog is joining me. Hi. Are you waiting to say hi to everybody? Say hi. Say hi. Yes, say hi. You're such a cutie. You're such a cutie. Hi everyone. How was your weekend and how was your Monday? Okay. Hi. Hello, hello. Let's say hi to everybody. Um okay. Ch-ch-ch. Norwegian Wood, Jolie, Seven Purple Pearls, Leah Warburton, Lisa, I am Claudia, Nadira, Sarah, Robin Carr, Elizar, Leah, Cindy, A. Brown, Hanako Grace, I am Girl, Warren, Ruth Fisher, Erica Yates, no rose for you. Alicia, Tracy, Michelle, Carla Girl, Salmar, Elazar or Oraya, Bangi Luna, Angel Star, Nadira, Lydia, Pia, PZ, Portia, Andy Big Night Sky, Alina, Norwegian Wood, Carol. Let me close this thingy. Donna, Nikori, Lake Shoden, Hani Almazan, Nate, Carla Girl, I am Gigi, BTS Eden, Carol Faye, Letitia, Nate, Michelle, Seven Purple Pearls, Farah, Gigi, Cindy, Juveline, The Real FS, Rachel, iCarmi, Mylene, Nikon Lady, The Key, Icebox. They're saying hi to you, Debak. CMB, Lotus, he's so cute. He is super cute. And he knows it. And he uses it against me all the time. Amy C, Ruth Fisher, hi. The Dummy Dom, Elizar, MJD, Brissa, Fire Butterfly, Carla Girl, iCarmi, Dodger Girl, Beatrice, Jasmine. It's raining, which I love, by the way. He hates it, but I love it. I mean, he hates it when he needs to go out to pee. But Sage, Scrapbook, Winkle, Share Your Love, Fire Butterfly, Shelling, Cindy, Robin Carr, Chelsea, Lorena is on Twitch, Dodger Girls on Twitch, Hanako Grace, Fire Butterfly, Curious Norwegian Wood, Alta 444, Lisa Parker, Icebox. Okay, I think I've said hi to everybody. Beth Davidson, Kathleen. The rain is soothing. It is very soothing. Fire Butterfly is also on Twitch. Consuelo Gonzalez, Angel Star. Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay. So we have some stuff to talk about. A lot are geeking out, just like on the business side of things. That we're going to be discussing about this deep. Apparently, there are diplomats that are invited to the Gwangwamun concert, and it's really not making a lot of armies happy because um, there is like some sort of a impression that it's becoming politicized too much when in fact it was supposed to be um, like it's supposed to be a comeback for armies, right? Do you think BTS deserves a castle? do I think the BTS deserves a castle? Yeah, and a red carpet, a crown, a scepter. Yes, they do need to be treated like kings. Um, Robin Carr, I enjoyed your review of Cordis. They were so great. Okay, a little bit of Cordis while we wait for others to come on. I last Friday, to those that are a member of the community, like paid members of Patreon and YouTube. I did discuss Cordis a little. I watched them in the NBA crossover performance in the NBA weekend, All Star weekend. So they're the very, very first K-pop group to ever perform. First, I think that NBA organizer wasn't just ready for any kind of K-pop performer because they had no idea what to do with the crowd. For those that are familiar, that entire block of the LA Convention Center, they basically occupy like the entire lot of one block, and or maybe two, or maybe that's two blocks. Angel Star, lucky money for Debak for the lunar year. Aw, Debak, you've got lucky money. You have to bow. You have to bow, Debak. You have to bow. It's like, yep, I'm bowing. Thank you so much. Um, so in that entire block, it went around like maybe two times, maybe one and a half times, and they had no idea how to organize those people. Like they were kind of shocked that people were lining up. There were fans there who lined up a night before, or probably like a day and a half before the actual event. And then there were two sections, the GA section and the VIP section. So the person who invited me, I did not ask for her permission to actually say her name out loud, so I won't. But so someone actually invited me. She was able to buy a ticket, but only GA, which was great in itself because we were basically in front. But okay, so what happened was, um, there's a VIP section and there's a GA section. But the problem was that there were a lot of benefits for certain like holders, like you know how, for example, if you have Chase Sapphire, right, that's like high end kind of, or if you have a black card or something, like that's a high end kind of credit card. So I guess they have a partnership with LA Convention Center or the NBA, so you have benefits like, okay, you go in first, for as long as you have your card with you and you can show it to them, you can go in first. And that's kind of what caused the commotions. There were a lot of exceptions to the queue, and they were disorganized because they did not inform the card holders ahead of time. And so what was happening was that people, their staff members would walk through the line, like in between the VIP and the GA section. Staff members of the event would walk and then just like announce, like, hey, do you have Chase Sapphire? This is just an example. Like, hey, do you have Chase Sapphire? If you have that or Amex or whatever, then you can actually go in earlier. And so, of course, when other people are hearing it, you're kind of like, come on, we've been here for 2 days and you're at telling me that all we needed was like a card like that and we would when we could go in. So that basically upset a lot of fans that they so there were like a lot of fans that were like cursing and cussing at other, the which was not entirely the card holders fault, because the line was, and it was getting chaotic, that if I mean, if I had those cards, I would take advantage of it. But anyway, so that was the first like disorganized thing that happened. But once you go in, the other thing that they did not anticipate is the number of people that were actually going to show up, which they should have because they were selling the tickets. But I think they did not expect it to be sold out. So there were installations among the crowds, meaning there were booths, displays, which was getting in the way of people enjoying Cordis because it was literally blocking their path. And so the tendency was for it to get knocked down. And it wasn't even intentional. It's just that when there's so many people dancing and jumping and whatever, the tendency is for people to push other people around. And that was like, and it was knocking down some of the installations. And again, the crowd wasn't really doing it on purpose. It's just, what can you do? But the performance itself was great. They're great live performers. They knew how to hype up the crowd. Also, James was choreographing on the spot. Like he was coming out with his own choreography on the spot. So and even Songyun was like surprised. He was sort of communicating to the audience that what the James was doing was like kind of impromptu. He wasn't It wasn't rehearsed or something, that they were actually copying James while he was doing it. And then props to Martin because he really knows how to hype up the crowd. He knows what to do in order, like for example, if one member would go into the center, like he would just find a way on how to hype him up, like do ad libs and stuff, and then just absolutely flawless when it comes to performance. I think one of I like the character of their voices. It's so distinct from each other. So it was a good experience in general because I do think they're going to get big, like internationally get big. So it's nice to be able to watch them while they're still in their raw form. So if you ever do get the chance, um, just try and watch them. So because it's like it's a treat in itself. So they did say that they're going to make a comeback in April. I think they're going to be pushing for more US performances, more US promotions. If you get a chance, go ahead and do them. This is still their raw form. So it would be great for you. I think RM looks like Martin a little with his new hair in GQ magazine. I think so, yeah. So right now, so Martin's hair used to be like up, but I think he just like he's letting it down now. So yeah, he's starting to look a little bit more like RM. And also they're both very tall. So since the Korean is now inviting their own guests who are going to bring their own security concerns in the SK government operating to put up money for the additional security that will be needed. Okay, sorry, Bruno, your rose bouquet looked nice, but BTS well looked amazing. I was able to take a glance at it because we were just up and about during the weekend. I had to drive my mom around some stuff, and so we saw the wall. I saw one. Well, are you okay, baby? What do you want? You want me to go closer? Okay. He's like, Mom, I'm not comfortable. Okay. All right. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. So I also heard that AVIC CEO said that XG was still in the red. They are still in the red. They have to because it's the Hybe image. Okay. So we have two major things to talk about. Three, but two. One is it's a business side of things on Hybe and SM Entertainment. Mostly things that weren't really explained. Also from the context of like the Western market and what they are doing in the US, the business implications of their report. And then we will also be talking about BTS. I mean, the invitations that are being sent out, allegedly, it actually came from. Why don't we do this first? So, first, for the GQ magazine, if you haven't done so, you can order. For those that are in the US, if you go to GQ, you subscribe for a year, you will get your first edition, which is the March edition, where BTS is the cover. You will get their. Oh, I am on the side. Okay. Okay, so you will get your first magazine in March, and then you kind of pay like $1.25 if you subscribe to digital and physical magazine. You pay $1.25 each month for 12 months. So that's about $15. So if you want, you can go to GQ magazine, their subscription. You can get it there. Then you save money for you save money for the if you order in Weavers, there is a delivery fee, which is not cheap. But if you subscribe, it's way cheaper. So if you want, you can try and get that in GQ magazine. Just go there directly and then go to the subscription one. So right now there were 15 countries that posted about the teaser. They kind of repost, not kind of, they reposted the teaser, the video that GQ magazine posted in their YouTube channel. And these are the 15 countries that participated. So they're going to be the first Korean act, probably first Asian native act that actually were able to snag a cover, all 15 simultaneously. I ordered a subscription, the things that we do for BTS. Yeah, you can. I think I, baby, wait. He never ever wants me to stop scratching him when he's on my lap. Okay, so I'm gonna share this just for those who don't know because I think I share this in my members only live stream, I believe. So let's do this. If you go to GQ, screen share, digital subscription. I believe Debak needs his own high chair next to you. Okay, that's a thought. So if you go to GQ, you can get the annual subscription. It's $1.25 per month, but you do need to pay for the entire year, and it'll cost you about $15. Just make sure that you unsubscribe before before your 12th month. So that's a tip, so that you save. You don't have to pay for shipping if you order from Weavers. And also, like, it always gets sold out on Weavers, so maybe you can just leave that to other countries. And for the US, you can just do this. Okay. All right. So that's for their, let's go back here. Okay. That's for their GQ subscription. And then can you pick GQ up at Barnes and Nobles? You can. You can also, so Target, most groceries like Ralph's will have them. Um Barnes and Nobles. The problem is that, if because it is a BTS issue, it's probably gonna get sold out immediately. If you subscribe, it is a better KPI for BTS, because they will be able to prove that when they announced BTS as the cover for March, their subscription went up. So just a thought, if you want to, if you're particular about that, you do not have to be particular about that, but if you are, if you kind of want to help in hyping up the brand power of BTS, then that's one way of doing it. And I think for 12 months, $1.25, it may not be. I'm sure it is a lot for a lot. It is a lot for me. $15 matters to me. Um, so I wouldn't say, I mean, it's okay. It's natural if you don't want to. I'm just saying that that's an option for you. Okay. You bought your copy from Coco Dive. Okay, good. As long as you get a copy. But for, I'm just saying that for the US, that's an option for you to take. Okay, so the South African, what's her name? I always have a, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but so the ambassador, South African ambassador to South Korea, Mukoko, is that how it's pronounced? Mokoko, said that on the 11th, she asked that South Korea be included, sorry, South Africa be included in the tour. And then she mentioned something that a lot of fans, that didn't make a lot of fans happy, primarily because they feel like it's getting politicized. And that is that there will be diplomats that will be invited in the performance of BTS in Gwangwamon on March 21. So there are a lot of issues that armies are raising about this. Number one, and probably the most important thing for many armies, is that they feel like it's getting politicized. Like, this should have been, BTS has always been concerned about social issues, not necessarily political issues. They have never spoken about any political party. They have encouraged, especially in the early days of their career, encouraged people to vote. And primarily, their political involvement has always been in South Korea. They have supported social causes. They always do that. But going political is something that they have never really done. Or if they ever have done it, it has always been confined to South Korea. So fans kind of felt like, why is it becoming, why are these diplomats suddenly becoming involved? So they don't like it. A lot of people are like, isn't this for armies and BTS? Why are they getting involved? I think one of the, probably it's both a blessing and a curse for, if you become as big as BTS. I could probably say that BTS has no match act of any country. No other act means to their country as much as BTS means to South Korea. Does that make sense? Um, like, there are no other act that seems to represent a country globally as much as BTS represents Korea globally right now. And member for 7 months level, Rise and Shine message. My hotel is 2 blocks from the palace. I'd love to meet up. If it's just a few minutes to get minutes, got tickets before lottery, stressed I won't be allowed into area. Miss Kim, so what do you, is it, you mean for the Guangwaman? Why don't you message, like, DM me? Okay, so um you could have fooled me by the way that they treat our, so there is, like, for, yeah, so no other country no, no other act stands for their country the same way BTS stands for South Korea. And probably the closest would be Lisa for Thailand. That's the closest. And if she continues with her trajectory, which is an entirely different discussion altogether, if she continues with her trajectory and she converts her opportunities into actual commercial success, then she might become who BTS is. She might become to Thailand who BTS is to South Korea. Okay. So when you become that big, what you do starts meaning different things for a lot of people. So for us, for BTS, for armies, whatever they do, it's just really for their art, for their music, for each other and for armies. We do know that the one thing that they have always mentioned is that they want to continue evolving and improving as artists. So we know that that's the primary thing. And if you're in it for the ride, if it resonates with you, then you become a part of the fandom, you become part of the community. Then whatever it is that they do, you become a part of it. Okay. But um but to other people, specifically to politicians, state leaders, they give that a different interpretation and they look at it from a different lens. Because we are always looking at it from the lens of artistry and creativity and fandom and community. While they, because that is their nature and their job, they look at it from this lens of tourism, influence, horror, income, economic opportunities. And that's what's happening with Guangwamon right now. And to a certain extent, that's the price they have to pay for doing it in a publicly owned venue, which is the Guangwamon Square. To a certain degree, that's just inevitable. It shouldn't be because they Big Hit is already paying for it. So you would think that once a private company or a private entity starts paying for the use of it and ensuring that they will be taking care of security, of restoration, of making sure nothing gets destroyed or broken, you would think that okay, so this is a private event. But I don't know how, and I'm not going to pretend to know how the sponsorship started because city of Seoul start announced that they were going to sponsor the comeback and that they were going to be co-presenters, which I thought was I, I don't know how it happened. Um, I have no theory as to where that started or how that started. All we know is that Seoul announced it that they were going to co-present the event. So whether because I don't know if they didn't have a choice, like BTS didn't have a choice but to do it because that was required by Seoul. All I know is that that is what they have right now on their plate. That they are that it is co-sponsored by the city and that comes with certain privileges for the city and that includes inviting diplomats. So it's we just have what I'm driving at is that we just have to accept the fact that when they become that big, what they do starts meaning different things to different people. And for us, we just want their art, we just want their music, we just want to be there for the community. But for them, for Seoul, for all of these people, it is an economic and tourism opportunity. So that's the price they have to pay for the fame. And that's also the price that they have to pay for holding a comeback in a public property, which I know, believe me, I'm not saying that it is fair. It is definitely unfair because they're already paying for everything. They went through the process of actually getting things approved. And so you would think that the people should be leaving them alone right now because if you're paying for everything and you went through the right process, then it should be a given that you should be left alone to do the things that you want to do. But for some reason, Seoul became a co-sponsor and now co-presenter of the event, and now they're going to be inviting diplomats. What I think as a fandom we should do is to just not concentrate on this. what we of course my heart goes to BTS armies in Africa. I want them to be able to experience BTS. But whatever we desire or whatever we want has nothing to do with the reality of BTS. So we don't know what kind of hurdles. Although it seems that the ambassador actually committed to making it happen. Like she was sort of ensuring that it, whatever red tape you're gonna have to go through, I will clear all of that for you to be able to perform in South Africa. But at the end of the day, our job is to not concentrate on that. They will certainly, whoever those diplomats that are going to be invited, they're going to be taking pictures and whatever. And we have no control over how they're going to be doing that, how they're going to be using those pictures. My gut is that at some point someone's gonna use that to sort of brand themselves or something. Um, our job is to downplay all of it and highlight the artistry of BTS. Just remember that they're doing it for the comeback. So I think our fandom, our job as fans is to just concentrate on that and then leave the noise behind because there's really nothing that we can do about it. Um, why are they? There's a question that I saw. It starts to feel like it's not their comeback, but a tool in government's hands. You know what, we need to first start looking at it in a different light first. We need to learn how to. Do you want to go down? I think he wants to go down. Do you want to go down? Okay. You say bye. You say bye. You say bye. Yeah. Bye bye. Why do you not want to look at the camera, baby? Hmm? You're so cute. Okay, bye. Okay. I think it has to start with us. First, we need to start not thinking about it. Although the brain is not capable of processing negative commands. So maybe the right thing to do is concentrate on something else. Like we need to concentrate on the promos, the teasers, what is love, the very few photos that they put out. Like J Hope posted a picture as an OT7 picture of them, and I think the concentration should be on those things. If we allow our irritation over how this is getting treated, then it's going to then downplay the real artistry of what they're doing. And all the concentration will be about, all the narrative is going to be about who's there, who's the diplomat, who's the this, who's the that. And then I think at some point, and this I'm kind of anticipating, I think many armies are actually going to use this as a flex. They are going to start talking about how this country's diplomat or this country's president or ambassador was taking a picture with BTS, which demonstrates their influence and their power. I'm anticipating that some armies are going to be using it as a um yeah, as a gotcha, from as a proof that BTS is way more successful than other acts, which is really one of the worst things that we can do, because that their remember that the fulfillment of their objective is going to be on the hands of the fans. If we hype it up, then they succeed. Then it becomes a political event. If we don't hype it up, then it's just become an attempt. It's not going to come into fruition. So let's just concentrate on the good things, on the artistry of things. Nadira, let's focus on our boys. They need armies to make this album a massive success. Marilyn, thanks for all you do. Thank you, Nadira. Yeah, I think that is what let's guide the conversation away from all this politicizing, all these diplomats talking about this and that, and just concentrate on them. For the South Korean ambassador, number one, you can't blame her. I do think that other countries, specifically those that have not been visited by BTS, would of course want them to visit. So if you highlight statements like that, your concentration should be on armies that are in that country. Like personally, I do wish for African armies to actually experience BTS. So if she can guarantee that she's going to clear the red tape, make sure it happens, ensure their security. If her team and she ensure their security, then why not? I would want and I would be very, very happy for South African armies to actually experience BTS. So, but putting any other meaning on that, I think will just become a disadvantage to BTS more than an advantage. Um, Arm already said he isn't a diplomat. We should focus on the music and never flex. Yeah. But I do think a lot of armies are going to be doing it. That's why I'm saying we need to start putting the focus back on the fact that this is a comeback, that this is a reaffirmation of their Korean identity, not of anything else. Because there's another narrative, I was made aware of it yesterday about BTS asking for like uh, looking like running after Western validation, which is such an old narrative. So yeah, let's just make sure that we concentrate on BTS. Let's uh, whatever their politicians are doing and whatever Koreans are actually doing. I know there's a lot of like complaints about Koreans not treating them that way, like they're not getting the kind of the same kind of respect or whatever. Uh, I feel like as international armies, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about it? Right? If their own people don't know their names, what are we gonna do about it? We can only concentrate on the things that we can control, or at least we can affect. So let's do that. Let's just concentrate on where we are. And I've always said that because I am located based in the US, then that's what I will work on. Um, I will continue trying to explain the music and the creative background or the creative meaning, the substance of their music to Americans. So that's what I will try to do and continue doing. Okay, I don't flex, but I do drop facts. Someone talk trash. Having this event at Gwangwamun Square was a cultural event from the start. It's very much about their national pride, not just aesthetics. Correct. Army loves flexing. I remember most flexing about the Mexico president invitation thing, and I was just so uncomfortable with the whole thing. GQ offers digital print subscription in Canada, annual digital access, approximately. Oh, so the offer is also extended in Canada, Seda said. So it is annual digital access for approximately, and then annual and digital, sorry, digital and print for 29 or $30, which is about Canadian dollars. So $30 Canadian dollars for those that are in Canada. So same offer is being extended to Canada. So go to GQ. Seda, if you give me the exact link where they can do that, I can put it in the chat. Okay, next. Um, not all but KNets are just icky. There's not much we can do about it. Correct. I feel like okay, you don't know their names. Okay, you don't respect BTS. What are we gonna do? Like, I think at least like for me, that is not. There's nothing I can do about that specific thing. I will just try to affect what I can affect, and that for me right now, that is America, the United States of America. I will try to explain the substance of their work. I will encourage people to dig deeper, provide proof, all of those things, because that's something that I can affect. But South Korea, there's not much I can do about it. If I go there, I'm a visitor. I am fully aware of that. So I will respect their culture, I will respect their laws. Um, just like what Jimin said, it is their loss. not BTS's loss. Okay, next. Do you want to go to the next topic? I have no issue with politicians wanting BTS in their country. I don't like them asking the South Korean government versus asking the guys in their company, just like how the Mexican president did the same thing. You mean the Mexican president asked South Korean president? I think for those places, the diplomatically asking for extra dates should be referred to watching the concert via live stream or the cinema. Do diplomats not show up to see world renowned athletes? How are we tone deaf? BTS are not kids trying to make it anymore. Do diplomats not show up to see world renowned athletes? How are we tone deaf? BTS are not kids trying to make it anymore. It is a good point, by the way. It is cheaper to buy it through the GQ offer. Okay, the security teams probably don't have separate tickets and are not included in the attendance records, but I could be wrong. The security teams probably, they will most likely have their own process for those. So these are diplomats. You know, I always say it is a security risk. What this event is going to be a security risk. And not just for the politicians. Yes, for sure the politicians, right? They need to be secured, but everybody else too. Like this is a great opportunity for whoever wants to wreak havoc in their country. This is an opportunity for them to do that. And you don't need a terrorist. We have way enough. We have a lot of people like deranged fans that just want to cause chaos. And there's a lot of crazy people who hate BTS so much that they would do anything and everything within their power to destroy an event like this because they want to prove that BTS and Big Hit is are incapable of handling something like this, that this was a mistake. They want to make sure that nothing like this happens ever again. They could absolutely wreak havoc in that country. So this entire thing is a security risk. And then you add in diplomats. I'm sure that they have their own process that they're going to coordinate with the South Korean police. So let's leave them with that. And again, concentrate on what we have to do. Now, people are going to be pissed because those South Korean politicians and the diplomats are going to be seated in a specific space and whatever. Let's leave them be. For the most part, wherever they are placed, they are going to be placed there not just because it is VIP, not just so that they could have premium view of what BTS is doing, but also for security purposes. Okay, let's think about that. There's a lot of things that we are not aware of when it comes to security. So, okay, do we want to go to the next topic? I'm sure if BTS are worldwide famous and coming to the attention of politicians, politicians are bound to want to see them, but it's up to the fans to give attention to the politicians than BTS. Correct. Is the next story happy one? Sort of. It is more about business, actually. All right. Um, so I'm sure that a lot of other creators have covered what I'm about to cover, but I am going to provide some subtext and specifically in connection to um, the North American market and also from a business perspective because that's kind of what I do, business and marketing. Okay, so will you be able to broadcast from South Korea from the venue? I was told by a Korean friend SK Law is very strict when it comes to influencers and broadcast. I will try to get the i- um content creator visa. So when because I for American passport holders, you don't need a visa to go to South Korea. You know that. But I believe that there is a specific visa that you can get. They call it the HALLYU visa that allows you to kind of work while you're there. It might make some difference. So I am in the process of like researching. I asked for a friend of mine, a lawyer, who to research like if I get that, will it be easier for me to have a press pass or at least possible for me to have a press pass or something like that. But I do not plan to live stream while I'm watching the concert because Netflix exists. So they're going to be live streaming the entire thing. So I don't think I have to do that. I will be live streaming everything before and after. Like the reaction of people, the preparation of the entire city. I will be there a day in advance. So I'll go around Seoul, I'll go around Gyeongbokgung Palace, the Gwanghwamun Square, whatever I can see, I will just try to take you along with me. Okay, but other than that, I do not think it is necessary for me to actually live stream the concert because Netflix is there. Okay, next topic. All right. So let's go through the earnings, the business perspective basically, and the North American perspective, how th- the things that they kind of revealed in their earnings report but did not verbally said. Okay? You don't have to. Okay. Fairly, thank you. Now I feel better. I was worried about it. Okay. So, as you know, their gross profit was actually record breaking, but they had some problems with their net profit. That's when they went negative. Okay. But I think in um the last record their last conference call in relation to their revenue report was one of the most interesting for me because I love talking about business. I love like looking into strategy. That's my thing. That's what I'm into. So I'm very very interested in their strategy, how they're planning things out. But one of the challenges I think in doing the whenever they do their revenue report call, their conference call for their shareholder, is that because you don't really go deep into the strategy. If you really want to understand what they are doing, you kind of have to read between the lines. That's one. Second is that because there's a lot of common stocks holders that are in the call, their tendency is to make it common people friendly. That they kind of not miss, but they leave out a lot of the important things when they are discussing. So in this case, the most boring updates are the most important foundational updates, actually. And it really gives you an idea on how they plan things and the strategies, business strategies, or business moves that they are making for the future of Hive, which, and as we all know, as a collective, BTS is the fifth largest shareholder of the company. So, one of the most important updates that they provided was actually with this country musician. I forgot the name of the country musician, Tyla, and their expansion to India. Number one, country music may not be a big thing for Asia, but it is for the US. Okay. And that is actually one of the, if you like, majority of the US are still country music listeners, especially the South, Midwest. You go to those areas, and like if you take out New York, Chicago, and California, I can guarantee you that 90% of whatever is going to be left will be country music listeners. So, them having a hold in that market, having artists that are not just established in that genre, but also in the process of becoming big, that's a big thing for them. Because then for investors, if you are a serious investor, especially for institutional investors, that signals that, okay, you entered North America and you have like a great hold, a good hold on what actually profits in in the US, because country music profits a lot. It's a very profitable genre for the US. And because they have shown that they have their foot inside that genre, that's a good sign for them from a business an investor's perspective. Like, I know, okay, you have a good understand number one, have a good understanding of the North American market, and you have a good hold of it, so that's very important. Their move to Africa and to India also signals that they are going to tap into an undertapped market in the world, global market. In marketing, we call this the white space, the white market, because there's nothing there yet, right? When you say like, okay, we have a white market here, that means you're going into a market that no one has penetrated. So again, from business perspective, if you're an investor, oh great, if no one is there yet, unless you're absolutely stupid, then you will have a good share of the market. You'll be able to get a good hold of that. That's a a good source of revenue because it's underutilized, so there's still a lot of untapped, unused money in there. I like Keith Urban. You like okay. Yeah, he's good. My favorite is Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. So those are my two favorites. But there's a lot of country. I would actually rather listen to country than jazz. I'm not a big jazz fan, but okay. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm looking for something. All right. So country music, prolonged country music makes my eye twitch. Country music roots have fascinating history. It does. Isn't Tim McGraw under Hybe America? Under Big Machine, I believe. Okay, Tim has some good music. Personally, he's kind of a Dika. What's a Dika? What's a Dika? Okay, um, number one, this signals new sources of income, as I've mentioned, because it's untapped. No one is there yet. Oh, a diva. Okay. Stability of investments because it means that the investments are starting to work on them. They said that the stream of income is pretty steady. Um, Fairlane, I would love to watch a content creator that actually love BTS. I'm seeing a lot of fakers getting millions of like for armies. And then there's also the growing influence in the US market. As I've said, because they're starting to do business and they're succeeding in doing business in areas that the US market um the jazz classics are amazing. Okay. I'm not debating on the even though not a fan of a genre or an artist, I can acknowledge how great they are. So I've said this many times. For example, G Idol. I'm not a fan of G Idol, but I do acknowledge that they have some of the best music when it comes to substance. It just not resonates with me, but I acknowledge that. I'm not a fan of Beyonce, but I acknowledge how great she is when it comes to performing, like hands down. Probably I would put her up there with Michael Jackson when it comes to the quality of concerts and performances. Not a big fan though. I'm not a big fan of Kendrick, but I can acknowledge his poetry. I can acknowledge how important he is and the movements that he's making. Still not a fan. So I don't think that just because you who you bias is should get in the way of your appreciation of art. That's how I always believe that. Okay. Old country is much better than new country. Okay, next. Someone actually asked me about this that streaming, I guess there's a content creator who talked about this or like I can't remember the question, but there was someone who asked like why is streaming not emphasized as much as a source of income for Hybe? um, Streaming is not a huge source of income for any artist for that matter. Remember that for every song played, for each time your song is played, a song, remember this is an entire song, is paid like less than a cent. So it that in itself signals that you really cannot count much on any like you can't count on streaming as a steady source of income because if you're getting paid, for example, this is just an example, if you're getting paid like $1 for every 20,000 streams, so a song gets played $1 for every 20,000 streams, that is for the entire song. And um if you split the income among everyone that will share that income, that $1 is nothing. So your you have your label, um, who will get a share of that. You have co-writers, you have publishers, you have managers, you have taxes. So your $1 is down to point 0.1 cent for a performer and for a songwriter. The only time you really start getting a big chunk of it is if you are streaming billions like BTS. And there's a limited number of people that will share in the pie. So if you have 26 songwriters, good luck, right? Now, if you have like five, four, that's manageable because there's only four people, five people that are splitting the pie when it comes to artist rights. So it never was a huge source of income. In fact, it's more a promotional tool. It promotes you, it promotes your tour, it promotes you as an artist, but it's not really a revenue generating income. Now, it's a different matter altogether if you are a singer songwriter who has a very limited staff, number of staff, and or a very small staff, and then you are writing a chunk of your songs, then you could profit. But it isn't the biggest and will never be the biggest because of how the revenue is structured. So no, it was never. I know that some of you are gonna ask like, what about like Jimin because his song was one of the most profitable for 20. So as I've said, there are exceptions. BTS and the members are streaming billions upon billions, and then like Suga, for example, he's the only writer and composer and performer of the Cheetah, I think. So then he gets everything. That's profitable for him. Even then he doesn't get everything because he has a label, there's taxes and all of those things. So it never was and never will be. There will be some exceptions, but you have to be up there to actually for this to actually make sense. But BTS write a lot of their songs, so they get something, but not much because it's little. Yes, they do get some because they are co-writing their own songs, and also that they stream a lot, they get a lot of streams, but it's not the majority of it's very, very little. It's more a promotional tool than anything else. Um, so, and then there's another question that was asked. So they reported non-operating losses, right? Okay, so someone asked me, like, what does that mean actually? Because in their earnings report, they kept on emphasizing that they did not, this is not a cash out loss. So what is it then? Okay, non-operating, it's Hegum. It's Hegum, which he wrote all by himself. Okay, so he wrote all by himself. He produced it and he sang it, so he's earning a lot from it. There are others with very limited writers. Some of their songs have actually majority of the songs, the discography of BTS have very limited songwriters. It just looks a lot because it includes they actually combine producers and songwriters in one list. And then most of the not most of the time, but all the time, the member's name as a contributor to the song is separated. So you can see RM, Suga, J Hope, and then the rest like um Jin, Jimin, V, Jungkook. So it's always separated. So it looks a lot. But a lot of their songs they actually they have very limited number of songwriters in there. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Non-operating losses are losses that don't come from HYBE'S core music, touring, fan club, and Weverse businesses. So it doesn't mean that their concerts flopped. It doesn't mean that their merchandise aren't getting bought or supported. It doesn't mean that their streaming and recorded music aren't getting streamed. It doesn't mean that fan club and IP are not getting any kind of income. So Seda said, trying to sign up for the Canadian GQ offer, but on the last page, this subscription isn't available in your country. Contact customer service for more info. Okay. So going back, so they the money that are coming from concerts, merchandise, streaming, fan club, and IP licensing, they're saying that this is steady. So the losses aren't because we put up a show, a tour, and it didn't sell. It doesn't mean that the merchandise aren't getting bought. It's all in the warehouse. That doesn't mean that. Okay. So that is a non-operating loss. Basically, a non-operating loss is a financial or other write-downs or one-off accounting charge. So, for example, you own So it's an impairment losses from restructuring in the case of HYBE. So basically what it means is, for example, I have a house. Okay. So HYBE has a building, just for example, HYBE has a building. And when they bought it, it was worth um, $10 million, 10 million US dollars. But because of market movements, because the stock, this is just an example, okay? Because the real estate market crashed, then from 1 million, the value now is 750,000 US dollars. So the value of that asset came down. So the losses came from that, not because they're spending or investing on something using their money and it's not returning the profit. It's just that some assets that they have went down in value. And an accountant, a business manager, the lawyers, when they file their taxes, when they do their revenue report, investments report, they need to write down all of that. And they need to update the value of their assets. So some of their assets came down in value. That's what happened. In other words, they're not losing money. The investments that they are making in concerts, music, it doesn't mean that it's not getting supported. It doesn't mean that no one's buying their merchandise or their music. It's the existing assets that they have actually come down in value. Okay. All right. So that is what a non-operating loss is. It's an accounting adjustment to lower the value of those assets on the balance sheet. All right. My wallet can only handle my BTS habit. Actually, they make more with BTS, which does not mean they don't earn enough with other artists. Okay, so why did that happen? So may Hybe most likely reassessed, which happens on a yearly basis anyway, sometimes twice a year. They may have reassessed or quarterly. They have may reassess the value of assets related to its legacy US business, including the restructuring of Ithaca and Big Machine Record, finding they won't generate the returns originally expected. So there are a lot of movements in the US part of their business in in Hybe America. One of which is the move from management centered label to a label centered label. They also a label centered company. They also let go of some people, um, and that includes the founder of Big Machine. He left Big Machine now, and he's going to restructure or form his own company. However, the assets were left. They still are owned by the IPs are still owned by Hybe. So that could be it. The restructuring itself that cost money, and so some of those assets they probably reassessed and said, okay, we're this this is not as valuable now as it used to be, so that has to go down. Okay. That's one uh that's one reason that the impairment loss actually occurred. And then as a result, accounting standards require the company to write down their value. So they basically write down like, okay, now this discography, for example, this IP is now worth 1 million. It used to be worth 2 million. That's where the losses happen. Okay. And of course, you're not supposed to lie about it. But they also had a higher net loss than operating profit. And in their report, it was all credited to the non operating loss because the net profit is affected by the non operation revenue. And that because they had a non operational loss, then their net profit actually went down. But in terms of their core business, the concerts, streams, merchandise, those are all good. They're still earning as much, if not more. Um, Next, how this relates to high. So how does this relate to Hybe's strategic shift? This actually is one of the most talked about event in the business side of the music industry in the US, that they are shifting from management centered structure to label centered structure, meaning they're providing greater autonomy to label individual labels There is less centralized management overhead and a more integrated IP business model. So, what does it mean? Um, One of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize about um, the U.S. market, the U.S. music industry, is that there is a lot of money that comes from genres that are not necessarily perceived to be cool, like the country music, not cool for the younger generation. And you cannot impose on this genre, for example, on this industry, the country music industry, for example, you cannot impose your structure on them because it simply operates differently. So one of the and Big Machine has always been given independence when it comes to operation, because as I've said, that's a different game altogether. It's a different arena altogether. So they've always been given independence when it comes to operation, and they're making money. Big Their IP, all the the country music IPs, they're making money. So one of the realizations is that there are it's just natural for some genres and for some industry to need independence, and they're going to have to give it if they want to continue generating income. So that's where it actually started. They said, okay, there's natural. This country singers, we cannot pattern their career to the K-pop system. So we need to give them independence. The other thing is that when you allow, especially in the US, when you allow certain labels to operate differently, when you allow the labels to operate differently, it also shows which ones, it highlights which ones are performing and which ones are not performing. Um, so it is better to let them do their thing, and then those that are generating the income will benefit more from the income that they are making. Okay. Does that make sense? So that's where that, at least these are the discussions going on in the business side of things in the music industry, that's where this move is actually coming from. Greater autonomy for certain labels. Um and do remember that they have actually a lot of new labels, like the HYBE'S AU, Allen Universe. That's a separate label altogether. So the goal is to let that operate and see, just okay, you do your own thing and you generate your own income, and we'll see. That's what's going to happen. So, and then they have a project with Ryan Tedder. Hybe X Geffen is a separate label altogether. So that's a different label that's not included in Hybe America. Hybe X Geffen is a separate one, a separate entity. Hybe X AU, Allen Universe, that's a separate entity. So one way to really gauge whether that investment is going to make money is to let that label operate on its own. But these are all plans in anticipation of their future needs, not just a reflection of their learnings. Well, it is a reflection of their learnings, but in preparations of all these big investments that they are making. Hybe X Geffen and Hybe X AU, Allen Universe, those are two big moves. And not necessarily big in terms of money. Of course, it is big in terms of money, but also like structurally, those are big moves. So that's where the restructuring actually is coming from. Um, okay, next. They also implemented a new shareholder dividend rule. And this is probably one of the most important things that they have done, because they really are reframing how they really want others to reframe how they're being seen as a company. So basically, what they want is to guarantee at least 500 Korean won per share annually in dividends. It's not a lot. 500 Korean won per share is not a lot. So that would be $50, I think, per share, I think. So, right? because 1,000 is $10. So, oh, maybe not. Okay, maybe five Kore- 5 US dollars for 500 Korean won. Okay, so um, okay, so what does this mean? Is that essentially at the end of the year, it's automatically regardless of the net profit. You, if you hold a share from the company, then you will get 500 Korean won per share that you have. So if 1,000 is $10, that's kind of how I compute it just to make it easier. If 1,000 is, am I right? I don't know. Anyway. So it's 500 Korean won per share. So if you have 1,000 shares, multiply that to 500 Korean won, that's how much you're going to get. Old rule is that you are actually they base their dividends on the net profit. So if the company earns, then you get more dividends. If they don't earn net, then you don't then sorry, if in the old rule, if they earn more, you get more. If they don't earn, then you don't get anything. What they want is just it for it to be steady. That regardless of what's going to happen, you will get a dividend, and this is how you measure your dividend. Okay, 1,000 Korean won is $1, she said. So it's 50 cents. Am I right? 500 Korean won is 50 cents. So now, with the new structure that they are doing, they just guarantee it for as long as you have um, 1,000 shares of um, of HYBE, then you get this much amount in dividends annually, not quarterly, but annually. Why? Because net profit, especially in the nature of their business, it swings like wildly on a year to year basis. It also gets affected quite drastically with the new investments that they are making. So if you launch, it takes a lot of money to launch one group. So they may earn. So for example, if they launch 5 groups this year, for example, and they spend about 2 million, or let's just say 1 million for each group, and average each group has 5 members. So that's like 50 members times 1 million, you're 50 million down, right? Because you launch 5 groups. So, and that's going to affect the net profit. And you can't help as a business, you can't help but continue launching groups because that's how they earn money with the groups that the acts that they are launching. So it's becoming wild that if you're an investor, you're like, oh my God, I'm doing well one year, doing crappy the next year. There's absolutely no stability, which is an enemy of investors because investors want guarantees, which they don't get, but that's what they want. That's what we want as investors. So if what they want now is to just base it on cash flow, which is more important to a certain degree in businesses, because businesses will always have debts, but for as long as money continuously come in, then you're able to pay off your debts, you're able to continue operating. That's actually what matters. No business will ever completely pay off their debts. They will always have debts. In fact, the richest people in the world continues to generate new debts. So, but that's a different discussion altogether. So what HYBE actually wants is to just base it on cash flow. What they're basically saying, can you please stop looking into the net profit and look at the cash flow because that's what matters. Okay. So there's a minimum guarantee. It will guarantee a minimum, and this is a minimum, by the way, not the ceiling. Okay. So question is, all right, you now understand that that's how it's going to go. The question is why? Why did they change their dividend structure? They Number one, first, let's understand that they're not the only company who does it this way. There's Apple, Microsoft, Exxon, and many others. I think Procter, no, um, or I may be wrong. I have several stocks, so I think Pfizer is structured this way. There's a minimum guarantee, and then but that's a minimum guarantee, and then it can go up depending on the profit of the company. So they are hardly reinventing the wheel, right? They're hardly in reinventing the wheel. But what this signals is that they're trying to tell their investors, please ignore the volatility of the net profit, because in the next 10 years, maybe we will keep on investing on new acts. We will continue investing on new technologies. We will try new markets, because that's the only way we will know how we will continue profiting. We will continue earning more money. So they're saying, ignore that part and just continue concentrating on how much money is coming in. For as long as we have enough money coming in to pay off the debt and continue operating, that's the only thing that should matter. Okay, so that's what they're trying to position the company, mature company. They want to be um, they're emphasizing that in the the established markets that they're in, for example, South Korea, Japan, those things will most likely always remain positive because they're very much established in that. But because they're expanding in the US, Europe, India, Africa, we can expect that they will continue to incur losses, but it does not mean that they are in a bad shape. It's just that it takes money to open to a new market, and they need to keep on it for several years. So that you can expect several more losses, but you're getting your dividends because the cash flow is good. Okay. This is very interesting insight into the business side of things. Thank you. I find it interesting too. So yeah, it actually signals that Hybe wants to be treated like a mature global media conglomerate, not a speculative growth entertainment company. And I think more importantly, um, they really want to do away with the noise. There's a lot of noise when it comes to revenue, profit, who's making more money in the K-pop industry, which is a really short-term way of looking at a business. You always look at the future. When you're investing in something, you're not looking at the first, second, third year, especially if it's a lot of money. You're looking 10, 15, 20 years. That's how that's how millionaires become billionaires. It's looking into the future. It's investing on the future that is basically valueless as of the moment, but because it has no value at the moment, it's cheap. You invest in it now so that in the future, when it starts generating revenue, then you generate more revenue. You become more profitable because you bought it at a cheaper price. Okay, next. So, what is the expected result? They are going to attract institutional investors. As I've said, institutional investors like stability, which they don't always get because that's the nature of business. But if institutional investors start seeing Hybe as a stable company, not a startup, then more money is going to continue to come into them. So they most likely will get more institutional investors, which is valuable because they stay long term. Retailers have the tendency to buy and sell, especially when they start getting seeing some result. If you get to like those active traders would actually sell at 3% gain. Like if they see something that at 3% gain, 5% at the min I think 5% for most people, 3 to 5% for most people, if they see that, they sell. If they wake up at 10%, they probably are going to sell everything. But institutional investors have the tendency to actually stay put long term, which is what they need. So they will most likely invite more institutional investors. And then they're going to be separating noise from business reality. As I've said, there's a lot of like talk about, oh, they're earning, this company is earning more, look at their stocks. You see that on a day-to-day basis on Stan Twit and also on Facebook. Like everyone's talking about the stocks going this high or plunging 2% or whatever. And those are just really noise because when you look at the stock market, you should be looking at it from a long-term perspective, 1 year at the shortest. But you look at it on a day-to-day basis, it's useless. It has always been volatile. When they do it this way, when you know as a shareholder that your income is guaranteed regardless of what happens to the net profit, it gives you the sense of security and that sense of stability. So you start to look at the company beyond the glamour of what they do and into the business of it actually. Okay. So they will probably separate noise from business reality. Um, they will be able to emphasize strong concert performances, Weaver's profitability, uh, and just talk about that and not worry about like all the investments, because it seems that whenever they have a quarter where they are losses, they always have to explain that we invested in this, we invested in that. But now people should start understanding that they are making a lot of long-term investments. Okay, next. Is Yoongi an institutional investor in the baseball team? He is a part of an institutional investor. So he went in through a fund. There are funds like companies that aggregates investments from different investors. So you can actually put your money in a fund, and the fund manager will decide where to invest that. Okay, so Yoongi actually went and invested in a fund, and now it's the fund that's controlling the money. So he is a part. That's the more accurate way of saying it. He's a part of a fund, so part of an institutional investor. Okay, now if they allowed net income, so remember this: if they allowed net income to dictate dividends, the accounting story will always overshadow the operational story, because it's all about, oh, I didn't get a lot of dividends this year, they're not doing well, which shouldn't be the case. So the case should be, what are they investing now to make the future better? Okay. Um, is it like a mutual fund? Yes, it's like a mutual fund. Correct. Yes. Um, and then the supporting the stock price during structural transition is probably a huge thing for them. They Because they are this structural reform that's happening in North America will most likely continue. They will continue revising and changing some things in the next 2 years. That's always how it is. Maybe three, and that's always how it is when you have a major shift in business. So when there are internal structural reforms, naturally, just like non-operational losses will probably occur. And they want to take that out of the view and just concentrate again on the operational, on the cash flow rather than those things. Whatever structural reforms they're making on the business side, they feel that they're doing it because they feel it's necessary. Okay. Weverse is also, oh, one thing, the other thing that surprised me. So let's put that aside. We're done with the profit and non-operational losses. This is a different one. Weverse, I was actually kind of surprised with what DJ Sang said in the live stream, in the conference call, when he said that, of course, they have big ambitions. Um, but because they also have, just like any other company, they have limited resources. And in terms of Weverse, the concentration became heavy on Japan and South Korea. So they weren't, so I was kind of surprised, like, you didn't go heavy on North America, which I thought was going to be like an area of concentration for them, for Weavers, primarily because there is no superfan platform that dominates North America. To this day, there's none. A lot of superfan platforms are actually for content creators. So, Be My Friends is their closest competitor, but that's also a South Korean company. So most super superfan platforms are centered on social creators like Patreon, OnlyFans, and Fanfics, and many others. But those are for creators like me, not for artists. So, and then add to that the fact that North America is the biggest music market. And so what I always thought was that they were going to concentrate on the North American market because that's where a huge chunk of the money is coming from. That's number one. And number two, when it comes to super fan platform, it's still untouched. It's still a white market at this stage. So I was kind of surprised that they did not concentrate on North America. I get that they have limited resources. I just thought that they were going to funnel the resources towards North America. But the good news is that it's not too late. And I hope they realize the fact that there is no dominant super fan platform in North America, and that they should start doing it. Okay, so that's one. However, I do recognize the fact as well that it could also be a cultural thing. um I think everyone knows that the way the brain works, the Western artists brains work is different from how Eastern artists brain work. There, for Eastern artists like K-pop artists and other Asian artists, um gratitude is a huge part of their success. They always credit their success, or at least give their fans a huge credit to their success, and of course their community, their staff. And that makes it easier, so that makes their transition to that makes their use of this platform second nature to them, because they always want to communicate with their fans. But with Western artists, there's always a distance. So there's the framing, the thinking is that the fans are consumers and I am an artist, and you're there, and I'm here, and that distance will always remain. W- as opposed to K-pop artists and other Asian artists, where they always are trying to bridge those two, the fans and the artists. And so maybe also on the part of weavers, there's still a conscious, they are conscious of that fact that there has to be a cultural move first before a super fan platform will actually succeed. Right now, Weavers is global in that they service all the other markets, but they are not that active in pursuing and molding artists from North America into how they can actually use Weavers. So that could be one reason, cultural. That could be one reason why they decided they will try to make it big first in Japan rather than port their resources in North America. So the chances of success will be greater in Japan, because culturally the nature of the business of weavers is more natural in Japan than it is in North America. Okay, next. They also mentioned gaming revenue, which of course didn't get a lot of back, like like a question about it. Like the investors didn't ask so much about it. But I felt like that was important. As you know, the gaming industry is actually way bigger than the K-pop industry, than the music industry in general in South Korea. It's gigantic. The gaming industry is gigantic. So they said that they're actually um, starting to earn from the licenses that they have. What is noteworthy though, it worth noting what is worth noting is that they are still in the business of licensing, and they're not really still in the process of creation. Like they haven't created a game that became big. So for example, World of Warcraft, um Val, um uh yeah, so games that they haven't been in the business of creating games and and they haven't certainly created a game that has become as big as Val, World of Warcraft and stuff like that. So I think that's where the next step is, towards creating games that eventually will become big. uh, And I think once they do that, once they create a franchise, a gaming franchise, World of Warcraft player here. Oh, right. Okay. Good. Um, I think once they actually start getting into that, actually creating games, that's when real profit will come in. Because then the challenge will now be, because one of the things about creating games is that, like a movie, you do need a story. You actually write a story for a game, because those missions that the gamers do, those aren't just missions. There's a story behind it. That's actually one of the things that captures game players, is the story behind the missions that they fulfill. So I want Hybe to buy World of Warcraft. Wow, that would be that's $1 billion industry. There's a lot of other there. So let's see if okay, 1 second. Let's see what are the top gaming. What are the top games? Um, so the top game is FIFA, the FIFA World Cup game, the FIFA game. Minecraft is the best selling game of all time. Grand Theft Auto, Tetris, Roblox, Fortnite, and League of Legends. Those are the biggest. So if they like um FIFA World Cup game has 5 billion players. Grand Theft Auto and Tetris has 100 million copies sold. And then League of Legends is the game that Faker plays. Is the top PC games by monthly active users. So League of Legends, which is what Faker plays. That is the biggest in terms of monthly players. But in terms of general, it's FIFA. Does Hybe have EA buying money? No, not yet. No. But this is so when they mentioned it, I was kind of excited. I'm a gamer. I just stopped playing because if I start, I will not do anything in my life but play. My favorite game is Diablo. So anyway, it's a huge industry. So when they mentioned that, oh, they are starting to generate money from it, I'm like, that's a start. That if they actually become big in there, they could that it'll change the company fundamentally. That's number one. And number two, this is going to be a great entry point for many of their acts. Because if you have, so for example, let's see, I think so. For example, so League of Legends has 130 to 150 million active users monthly. 150 million active users monthly. That is 150 million that could get exposure to songs, images, and IPs of different acts of Hybe. Um, Unfortunately, they no one actually asked a follow-up question about it, which I thought like, what the hell are you doing? These are the important investments that they are making. That's one. Second is that so like for example, in the song, for example, the game of BTS, of course that is a pretty successful game. But I also feel that that is still very fandom centered game. Um, but I would love for them to create games using their existing IP like BT21, Tiny Tan, or maybe even create new ones that will appeal more to actual gamers than fans. So maybe that's an investment that they are thinking about it. Maybe they're developing it. The challenge for BT21 is that it is actually co-owned by Line. I know that they made moves to actually buy it, but I guess Line didn't want to sell it. I wouldn't either. If I were Line, I also wouldn't. But yeah, so they that was a big development. But I guess that's actually a sample of how like glamour focused is when it comes to coverage, because even well, you can, like for example, a lot of publications didn't really dwell on that, even though it's a big milestone for Hybe. But I can't really blame them because they are an entertainment centered publication. It's just that, for example, for Korea Herald, for uh, some other newspapers that talked about it, I was expecting a little bit more from them, but they didn't really touch on it a lot. Okay, next, like working with Nintendo would be interesting. That would be interesting. It would be interesting. But someone asked, like, do they have EA buying money? Not yet. They're not in that level yet. But maybe they are going to get there eventually. But it was really exciting for me when I heard it. I was like, why are no one asking about it? Why is no one asking about it? Okay, next. Um, someone actually asked about Cordis. Like, of course, their debut was actually groundbreaking. They shocked everybody. A lot of fans are panicking. Even other labels are actually looking at them very, very closely. And it's really no wonder. I mean, the achievement was a lot. Like, it's groundbreaking. They destroyed a lot of records. But also I like how they explained that, number one, we have to appreciate how they are marketing Cordis very, very differently, because they really are not focusing on music all that much. It's actually multi-industry. So they're into music, which is number one. Number two, they also got into movies, and now they got into games, sports, which is the NBA. And that's an important move. And it signals very, very important that they're realizing that if you want to be able to really expand the name and the IP, you do need to get into different industries. You need to tie in your narrative and your IP across different industries. You need to spread it. And yes, I know a lot of people are asking, but BTS has done that before. And that is the whole point. A lot of this, and he actually said it. Lee Jesang actually said it. They said that whatever promotions, whatever strategy they are implementing on Cordis, this is a result of 8 years of learning, which they primarily got. Where's my slides? there's, there's a slide. There's supposed to be a slide here. So it is a result of 8 to 10 years of learning from BTS, from TXT, from expanding their network. So it is not an isolated, lucky break that they got. Whatever marketing they're doing for Cordis, it's a result of 8 years of actually learning. And that all started with BTS. BTS was the first to expand their IP beyond music. And now they're implementing all of that to all the things that they've learned, and also TXT, everything that they've learned from TXT, they're expanding and they're applying into Cordis. Now, some people, I've gotten this question so many times, especially for a lot of MOAs, from a lot of MOAs, like, why Big Hit never supported Cordis or never supported TXT the same way they're supporting Cordis? Because TXT didn't come at the time when they have this wide of a network. Cordis did. Came at a time when they have this wide of a network and this wide of a resource, that it's so easy for them to pick up the phone, call the producer, and the producer is going to be right there the very next day, because they know this is Big Hit and this is attached to BTS. That's the biggest difference. I know it's going to sound unfair to a lot of MOAs, but that's just the reality. Um, but the beneficiary of that is Cordis. 8 years of learning, 8 to 10 years of learning, all coming down on Cordis. So, of course, that comes with their own set of pressure, right? And their own set of pressure is that you were already given a head start. Everything that they are enjoying in the beginning, BTS had to work to get. So, but to them, it was given to them on a silver platter. So the pressure is, you better be more successful. That, right? That's just the natural expectation. If you're enjoying the resources that BTS had, or BTS had to get, then you better become bigger than that. So that's a different type of pressure for them. Um TXT did very well due to their proximity to BTS. Timing is everything. Everything Cortis is benefiting. I'm not a MOA, but I kind of understand their frustration. I understand their frustration too. I remember it's like whenever I post about Cortis, there's just like a lot of MOAs commenting on, sending me private messages, how upset they are that TXT. And I was like, there it's different circumstances. It's a different time they had when TXT, number one of the biggest disadvantage of TXT is that they were actually interrupted by the pandemic. It's one of the biggest disadvantage. And then the next thing is that uh when during the pandemic, all focus went to BTS because of their decision to release an English song, which is Dynamite. So Dynamite, their decision to do that and Butter kind of changed the trajectory of Korean music, actually. Korean entertainment altogether. And they kind of got stuck in there. Not that they are not successful. They are very, 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 very successful. I just want to emphasize that. They're very, very successful. But all of it is undeniable that a lot of the opportunities Cordis is getting, they weren't able to get because they didn't have those resources yet. All of these resources, a huge chunk of it got developed because of the success of BTS from pre pre-pandemic era that carried on until the pandemic era. I think TXT have done well for themselves and they have never had to use or ride on BTS's name to get anywhere. I agree. I agree. I agree. Cordis has to grow on me. I only like one member because of Yoongi, as he is the CEO of B Lift Lab. I might like TXT. I feel like TXT is dealing with the middle child syndrome. But they weren't the middle child for a really long time. They were just the youngest child actually for a long time. Um, of course, clutch assists from Jungkook and Jimin. They were specially mentioned in the call report. Which again, this is actually a study on the necessity of a wider market. So Netflix is going to be the one that will be streaming BTS, and that has a wider market. And this Are You Sure being published or being broadcasted and streamed on Disney Plus 1 and 2 actually says a lot on how important it is to put your content on the right platform. Because a lot of people obviously were willing to watch Are You Sure? And it became easier because it was available in a platform that they had or that they can get, which was Disney Plus. So that's very, very important. Number two, this with the success of Gwangwamon, it's going to be very, very successful. I'm already calling it. But I think this could mean that a lot of their future content, travel shows, documentary, could also be aired on Netflix. We know that the documentary following Gwangwamon comeback is going to be aired on Netflix, but that's specifically concentrating on their song camp in the US. So let's see. But clap clap for for the two, for such a huge contribution. To think that this was something that they did because they enjoyed it, because they like it, because they want to spend some time together away from all the buzz and whatever, and for them to contributed such a huge amount to the the Q4. Wow. I mean, come on. I watched Cordis today. Thanks to Fairlane's video. BTS keeps pulling my attention, lol, rightfully so, but I'll check Cordis here and there. They are good enough to check. I really enjoyed Are You Sure Netflix is better than Disney Plus? I hope they lean more Netflix. I hope so too. I loved when Jimin and Jungkook was flying in the sky. That was so cute. That the entire I mean, I was laughing the entire time. Okay, so let's shift a little to SM Entertainment. They also uh, publish their quarterly report, and their revenue increase. This is the gross profit. They increased 16.6 year on year, and they grossed 319 billion Korean won. They had an operating profit increase of 62.2% year on year, And then they also had a net profit of 2.27.4 billion Korean won. Okay. So, but the more important insights come from interpreting the numbers. What is interesting about their report is that they are concentrating on the same things. It's still albums, concerts, and when they say merchandise, it's still light sticks. So they haven't really expanded in terms of business. They just expanded in terms of the acts that are going on tours and that are releasing albums. I am not saying that this is a bad business practice, but I think if they don't progress and if they don't apply or use the SM Entertainment 3.0 seriously and very soon, they're going to be left behind. Their advantage right now is that they have a lot of acts. Like they have hundreds and hundreds of artists in their roster that can go on tour, that can release some music, and that actually plays on that gives them revenue. And that's also very important. That's actually why they keep on launching new groups because they know that every group is a potential to generate income for them. But if they really want expansion, which is what they are saying, they do need to start implementing SM 3.0. Okay. So look at their this is what they so SM 3.0 said that they're going to concentrate on IP, gaming, US market expansion, which are the same business moves that Hybe started that everyone criticized. Now everyone is doing it. Okay. Next. That was just a side comment. All right. So this is their revenue report. If you look at it, they have advertising and subsidiary revenue, increased concert artist, subscription price decline, but they did decline in. So if you go down the list, um their revenue generating assets are primarily live shows, albums, and light sticks. So still very old fashioned. But they did say last quarter that they're going to start implementing 3.0, which is going to basically pursue the same line of business that Hybe is actually pursuing. But but as I've said, because they have a lot of artists, it's actually bridging the gap for them. If it is true that they are implementing SM Entertainment 3.0, the amount of artists that they have, it's bridging the gap so that even when not all artists are selling by the millions, they have 10 artists that are selling 100,000 that will still amount to millions of dollars. So that is where their strength is coming from, which other labels will eventually get once they start getting more and more artists, which is the move that YG Entertainment is actually making. He's starting to launch um, new groups more frequent because he knows that he cannot anymore rely on just one act the same way he did with 21 and Big Bang. He needs to start getting more and more artists under their roster. So this is their program for 20 for the rest of the year. So still a lot of albums and still a lot of concerts and it is the same names. Now, um, there is, if you notice, there is a fundamental difference in how a creative based leader versus a business based leader runs a company, right? Because for SM Entertainment, it is currently the only label that is not being run by an industry creative. So for Hybe, it's still Bang Shiyuk, although he is the chairman, but he still makes the call. JYP is run by Jinyun Park. YG is still run by Yang Yan. So SM is the only one that is being run by a business person rather than a creative person. So you see the difference in how they approach things. For SM, they concentrate in looking for pockets that will give them revenues. And one of which is just by not launching new, but by making sure that they have enough artists on their roster that will just continue to generate income, but very, very few innovation creatively. Versus Hybe, YG, and um, and JYP, they are very particular on how they can grow creatively. They use their creative innovation to get in new revenues. So that's the base, I think the most important difference between the reports of the two. One is just purely business strategy as opposed to Hype, and then also with the way JYP is actually doing it, they also concentrate on how creative innovation will bring in business innovation. So interesting to see. Um, Another interesting thing that happened is that he YG Yang Yun Suk, I think, sort of released to the media that he is on the hunt for the next Jennie and GD. He said he's just really like the fire is in him to find the new Jennie and the new GD. And my first, because I'm a fan of Baby Monster, my first thought is that how will that make Baby Monster feel? I thought initially when before Baby Monster was debuted, before they debuted, he said that it's like nine Jennies. That's what he said. It's like nine Jennies or seven Jennies or something like that. Um, which I thought was like, okay, how will that make Lisa feel or whatever? But anyway, that's what he said. He said, it like that Baby Monster is actually like seven Jennies or nine Jennies or whatever. And I thought, okay. And now he's saying that I'm on the hunt for the next Jennie. And I'm like, so the next Jennie is not on the Baby Monster. Like, what the hell is it? What kind of a see? He's so careless with his words, and it's just like number one. If I were the CEO, I wouldn't have said that this is like nine Jennies. I'm like, how will that make the other three girls feel? There are four members of Blackpink, so how would they feel? Like, are you? I mean, I'm assuming that that he has a favorite, but but do you have to make it so blatant? I just it shocked me that he would actually say something like that. Um so that was the first layer. Like when he said it, like this is like nine Jennies or seven Jennies. I can't remember the number. But I felt like how will that make the other three girls feel? You have four members in that group and you're picking on one. So it's obvious who your favorite is. I guess no one can deny that. And then the second is that when he said, okay, when before he launched Baby Monster, he said there are eight Jennies. They are like eight Jennies. I'm like, okay, and then eventually he said he's on a hunt for the next Jennie. I'm like, so it's not in Baby Monster? What are you trying to imply? But it's wild that it would actually come from a CEO. Um, and that's the YG swag people hype up all the time. That is the YG swag, yeah. Yeah. There he's very much well, it comes from if you look at the history of um his group, what's his name? THEI and the boys, right? What actually they were known for was really their fashion more than their singing, more than the innovation of their songs. Because remember, so they were into rap. They weren't like So Taiji, a rapper, is he's not the first rapper in South Korea. So before him, there were others that were actually already doing were very very much influenced by um, New York street rapping uh, because of the military station in South Korea. That's how the culture spread in South Korea. There was a military station there, and so a lot of the people in a lot of Koreans would actually hang out in Itaewon, where the military guys would be, and so that's how the music actually spread. So they are hardly the first group that would actually do copy the the African American way of rapping. So they were actually more known for the innovations happened in the fashion side of things. They were the first one, Sotaiji and the boys, and it was primarily Sotaiji. They were the first ones to actually bring in a stylist. They would actually be styled for performances. And their style was primarily New York street. That's the street fashion is where they were getting it. So his background is really more on the swagger of things more than actual artistic innovation. That's why it is not surprising. That's where he's leaning in creating artists or groups for his group for his label. YG literally buried groups to promote FD. Look at how many desangs he won. Um, Recently, YG put all his money into that. You mean GD to promote GD? He's not with GD is not with YG anymore. Jennie have visual that set the trend. Baby Monster's rapper is better than Jennie, but popularity is not because of the skill only. I agree with that. Yes. That skill is not the only thing that determines or makes one person popular. That I agree with. I think Rose will surpass Jennie. YG Jenny has IP value, but she is studio artist, or a non-dancing artist, but the expectation of performance keep her doing bad choreo and lip syncing. She Her group members are all basically influencers. So Taiji and the boys gave SK Youth a voice, wishing any new group being made are picked for their one for their talents, not trying to copy a former band member to recreate their bias instead of trying to push their music further. It's like how Tyla kinda is carrying SA, South Africa, on her back right now. First, Trevor Noah did well. Then Elon did so bad, but right now it's Tyla who's representing Bud Bunny out here rapping Lambs well too. Okay. So Baby Monster kind of has the same problem New Jeans had in that the individual girls don't have any significant personal branding identity. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Wonder what Jenny and Lisa thought of the Apathy Grammy. Um, this is interesting. That Baby Monster kind of has the same problem. I never really looked at not New Jeans, but Baby Monster that way. Interesting. Maybe that they don't have individual value. They are more valuable as a group rather than individual value. Um, I also think that because they are so young, they like most of the members, some of the members are still minors, actually. So I also think that because they are still very young and they were very young when they debuted and they were given like this, hard hitting concept, very, very hip hop. And those things actually come with experience, like hip hop in itself as a culture, not just as a genre, but as a culture, it is really grounded on experience, and it's grounded on painful experience. That's how it started. So it kind of feels artificial when you're so young and so polished. It doesn't hit as bad, it hasn't hit as hard, and that's kind of where they came from. They're so polished that and so young that I think it wasn't like hitting as hard. At least when Blackpink started, they were all at the very least legal. Like they were all adults already. So there's a little bit of, experience there that you can see. Okay. We have 7 minutes. Oh my God. Did you talk about Le Seraphim? No, but I want to like give them their I want to be able to concentrate on them. So maybe I'll do that in the next one. But so NMIXX performed in Festival de de Viña. Okay. Festival de Viña, and they had a collaboration with this Brazilian artist who's a big one. So she asked them to go with her to perform in the festival. So they said that it was witnessed by 2 million people. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they're saying, 2 million people in the festival. If that is true, then they said that that's going to if it is true that it was witnessed. And I don't know if that is an actual like TV viewership or just I guess it's impossible for it to be physical. So probably TV viewership. If it is true, then they would hold the record for the K-pop artist with the most people to watch them in a single broadcast. If that is true, but I don't know if it is true. But that's the that's they're saying that is true. Um, uh, we will see. Lol, mark my words. I said it, and you will see the rise. The rise of what? Of Rose? Um, Bang Luna, yes, I think they can stop now. They have enough platforms for the content. I may cry if they do more. BS. What's BS? I'm nervous anytime someone says the next. I think as a consumer, we're becoming more we are going to become more increasingly more attached to authenticity and undeniable skills. Okay. Also, another news is that YouTube Music, allegedly, if you are using YouTube Music in your platforms, they are using AI powered playlist generator for premium subscribers. So they can create playlists for you based on your preferences. Now, they did not say that this is paid or that they will accept that they will use it the same way Spotify is using it, meaning there are certain playlists in Spotify where editors would actually include a song because it is part of their marketing program. So far, YouTube has not indicated that they're going to be doing the same. A member for 5 months, rise and shine message. Happy Lunar Year to those that are celebrating it. Yes. Who was at Viña del Mar? NMIXX. NMIXX was there. Poor Jisoo let BP disband and left her act. um the record is not true. The festival itself, okay, the record is not true. The festival itself draws a crowd office 2 million every year. Okay. So the festival itself draws 2 million people every year. So but because they played there, then they can claim that they had the biggest audience among K-pop. They push artists after your playlist ends. So okay, just be aware that they're doing it. Also clarification on this because there was a lot of debate about this. The Stray Kids um concert movie top box office with 1.9 billion during the weekend. So they topped the weekend run. That's what they topped. So for the weekend run, just the weekend run, they hold the record for the biggest weekend run. But this record pertains to the opening weekend only, not the overall record. The overall record that it is still being held by BTS. So two, BTS Yet to Come generated 53 million globally, and then Bring the Soul, the movie, generated 24.3 million. Okay, just the weekend run. So, and usually that gets affected by a lot of things nowadays, like who are actually, like, what else are showing that weekend. If, for example, like it's Mission Impossible, good luck, anybody surpassing that. Um, or the Avengers, maybe if there's another movie and they run the same time as you, then good luck surpassing that. But there weren't really a lot of competition for them that week, and also it is a good, I heard, I haven't watched it, but I heard it's actually pretty good. So they hold the record for the weekend run, not for the overall record. That's still being held by BTS for the one and two. What is more important for us, and I will close with this, that what is more important for us is to actually appreciate how BTS is actually the first to institutionalize live streaming for concerts and concert movies. They are not the first. Not definitely not the first. There were others who have done it before them, but they're the first to institutionalize, meaning they made it a part of their agenda. So every time they do a promotion, it's a part of what they do. They would live stream their concerts, and they would always do a concert movie and a documentary. Like they made it a part of their fans' concert experience, sorry, musical experience. It's not anymore. That's why I keep on saying it's not the music is not just about listening to the music anymore. The way that we experience music and consume music actually transcends different kinds of different mediums, and this is a part of it. So just to be clear, concert live streaming, the very first, or at least one of the probably the most popular ones, in the earlier era was actually Elvis's Aloha from Hawaii, which was in 1973. It was broadcasted on TV. Of course, it predates streaming, but basically, he was one of the first, if not the first, probably the biggest to actually do a live broadcast of his concert. And then you have David Bowie, who did the festival in 1996, also a pretty big act. Not pretty big act, but really a big act. And then you have Coachella themselves. Back in 2011, they started live streaming Coachella. Of course, the technology wasn't really as good at that time, but they were already doing it. So they are not the first. Now, in terms of actual live streaming to the internet, one of the early acts to ever do it is Severe Tire Damage. They were actually not a professional band, or at least not a big one, definitely not a mainstream band, but they did it back in 1973. Okay, so don't claim that BTS is the first to ever do that, but they're the first to institutionalize. And back in 2020, they did that with Bang Bang Con Live. Because they were stuck in their homes, they decided we're going to do an online concert streaming. So in terms of concert film, so that was streaming the concert or broadcasting the streamer, the sorry, broadcasting the streamer, sorry, broadcasting the concert, live broadcasting the concert or streaming the concert. But in terms of concert film, which is what um Stray Kids concert film is, and the other concert films that BTS released, the first ones would probably be the 1970 Woodstock film. So they did it. It's like the same format. They turned the concert into a movie with some interviews. A fusion would probably Hard Day's Night, released in 1964. It's both the concert and also some interviews. So again, BTS was not the first. But, and then of course, Led Zeppelin in 1976. But BTS was the first to institutionalize it, meaning it is a part of their regular promotion. Whenever they have a concert, there will be a live stream and there's a concert movie and there's also a documentary. So that's the only thing you can claim, but they're certainly not the first. So they again pave the way. Because now other another act was able to repeat the formula, like um, use the same template and succeed, which is Stray Kids. So that gives you an idea that it is really possible because it's replicable, right? That's how a scientific experiment is actually proven to be successful, when it is replicable. And that's what happened here. Stray Kids was able to replicate what BTS did, which proves that concert movies should now be a part of the promotions of other artists. If they have the creative presence to do it, if they know how to plan, if they have a story to tell, if they know how to construct a story, they should make it a part of their concert promotion. Okay. Do you have questions? What does it mean when I've seen everything that's been mentioned? I made I made my own love song list on my YouTube channel. Thanks for BTS is the gold standard and blueprint. Leah, okay. There was a question. How about concert venue while having the real concert at another venue? How about concert venue? Oh, live viewing? Live viewing, you mean? They're the first. Where it's simultaneous. They're the first. It has, if you want to be technical about it, other people can say, well, it has happened where the concert was being broadcasted outside. So that has happened. If you really, really want to be strict about it, you can say that some people have illegally live streamed. But in terms of actually renting a cinema while the concert is happening and then the concert is being live viewing, they're the first. Um, what's the deal with YouTube and BTS's What Is Your Love Song? It's part of their promotion. GD is very good in writing a song, the melody, but I do not like his performance. He's also a good rapper, but in singing, he's have a mediocre technique. concert for Bangladesh. I'm watching it online. Yay. Okay, in collaboration, the female always gets torn down and always by other females. In collaborations, the female always gets torn down but and always by other females. Interesting. Like let's stream Don't Say You Love Me and Hegum to 1 billion before Arirang drops. JK is the new James Bond. Okay. The picture you showed of NMIXX is in Sao Paulo Carnival. They'll also be in Viña del Mar on the 24th. I'm definitely watching Netflix on the 21st. GD lands with a thud. Like the video, please. RM said he will create a new way. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for staying with me. I do have more, so I'll just continue on Wednesday. But also next, I'm actually excited. I'm already planning for planning my trip to go there for BTS Gwanghwamon. So I hope that they make some more announcements so I can make better plans. But I will share that with all of you next Wednesday and also see you on Patreon and also on Discord. Thank you. Please like the video. Like the video. Thank you. Bye.